Hi FlossTube, it's Lorna the Ladybird Stitcher. Today is Thursday the 27th of April and I'm here to do my end of April update. Even though it's not quite the end of April, I have a lot to show you, so I thought I'd do one today. So I'll jump straight in. I did have a finish, which I think I showed you a little bit of progress last time with the Tulip Egg by Mill Hill, and I will show you what it looked like the last time you saw it. And here it is now. It's FFO'd and it's been hanging on my wall for Easter and I really like it. It was a lot of fun. It's purely beads. They give you white thread and plenty of beads. I've got so many left over, I could probably do it again at least one more time. And then I just put some silver ribbon through the top. I didn't back it with anything because it's just up against the wall. It's not on a tree or anything, but I probably could put some felt on the back. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. So yeah, that's called Tulip Egg by Mill Hill. Now I might just run through my haul. I've only got two things to show you. So just from Stash Unload, I got this chart. It's called Chocolate Shop. I really like that one. It's by Little House Needleworks. I think this is my first Little House Needleworks. I've got lots of Country Cottage Needleworks charts, but none by Little House. So yeah, that'll be fun to do. And the other thing I got was from Chilton Crafts, and it's called Athenaeum. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. When I saw this I couldn't resist, and Chilton Crafts were having a sale, so I bought it. So I'll insert a picture of what it looks like here. Okay, so that's all my haul. Didn't spend much this month, which is good. And then I just wanted to show you this as well. I got this from the library, so this isn't mine, but it's Joan Elliott's cross-stitch greeting cards. And I've found quite a few good ones in here that I think I might start next month. So yeah, I won't go through it because I'm pretty sure other people have done a walkthrough of this book, but yeah, that's it there. It belongs to the library, so it's not mine. So I thought I'd start some cards and just keep working copies for the ones I start, and then I can return it to the library. Okay, now as mentioned in my last video, I was participating in Jessie Marie's first 29th birthday sale, and that took place between the 15th, I think, 15th of April and the 26th, yes, the 15th and the 26th of April. And that's basically most of my updates, except for one. Now I think when I shot my video last time, I still had 1 or 2 days left, and I thought what I'd do is work on something that I wasn't using for the sale so that you can see progress just from the sale. I did work on Pinocchio Wishes Upon a Star by Thomas Kincaid. It's a Disney Dreams kit. And here's what it looked like the last time you saw it. And then here it is now. So I haven't done much progress, but I did pull it out for an hour or so. Just worked on a little bit. There's probably just a little bit of progress there. There's not much. That's my Pinocchio needle minder from Needle Minder Obsession here in Australia. So that was that one. Now and then started Jessie's sale. So the 15th was my first 29th birthday. Stitch on your first or oldest whip, and I chose Boy King Tutankhamun by Jan Lin, which was a kit. And I'm just dropping everything because it's upside down. Here's where it was last time you saw it. I didn't work on it much, but here it is now. I think all I did was a little bit of this. And then I decided, no, I'm not going to do that. When I pulled it out, I knew I'd have trouble finding where I was because my marking off the chart wasn't that great. Now I worked on this probably about 15, 20 years ago. This is going back a long time. And I knew that I'd have trouble finding where I was, but that I found quite, well, it took me about 10 minutes, but I found where I was. And then I pulled out the metallic threads to work on the piece that I was working on, and it was a nightmare. The thread came apart as soon as I put it in the needle. As soon as I put it through the fabric, it started bunching up, so part of it went through and the rest of it stayed at the top, and I just thought, no way. So this is now a UFO until and if I find some Krennic or Petite Treasure braid to match the metallic thread that came in the kit. I'm not going to put too much effort into it. I also looked at some of the stitching in this, and that's where I first, like, that's probably the first stitching I ever did, and you can see it's not even. You can see there it's even starting to unravel, so I don't think I'll ever hang this up or display it. Or I've got threads coming out the front which I could probably fix with a snag nugget, but yeah, I'm not going to put too much effort into this. It is now a UFO, at least until I find those threads, and if I never find them, I don't care. I'm not going to put much more effort into that one anyway. So that was that one. But then that took me all of about 20 minutes, and I thought, well, I can't just waste the rest of the day. So I thought, well, my next oldest WIP is Lady of the Mist by Mirabilia. And here's where it was the last time you saw it. And I spent a whole day on this one. Sorry for showing you the back there, but here it is now. So I did quite a bit on, it probably doesn't show up as much progress, but I did work a little bit on this part of the dress there, so still very happy with that one. And I'm looking forward to getting back into this one and hopefully finishing her up soon. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed working on that one this month, but unfortunately I only spent one day, but that's okay. So that was the first one. Now the 16th of April was Jessie Marie Does Stuff, or Jessie Marie and Danny Sights. Stitch on something related to the letter J, M, D or S. So I pulled out Dreaming of Tuscany by Petite Gold Collection, or Gold Collection Petites, which is this one. This is another really old WIP, and this is what it looks, here's what it looked like the last time you saw it. And this is what it looks like now. So I just basically worked on the glass, yeah, and a little bit on the barn, I think. Yeah. I thought maybe I might try and finish this one this year as well, but we'll see how I go with my other priorities. Next one was 17th of April, Enabled. Stitch on something you were enabled to start or purchase. Originally I had The Way to Happiness because Simply in Stitches, Tina from Simply in Stitches enabled me to start on that one. But I finished that one last time, so I pulled out To Have and to Hold, which is this one. It's by Country Cottage Needleworks, and it was enabled to me by Mamula Stitches. Davina, I think her name is. Hi Davina, if you're watching. So I will show you what it looked like the last time you saw it. And then I'll show you what it looked like when I finished on the 17th. The reason I'm not showing it to you just yet is because that was used for another day as well. So Now the 18th was favourite colours. Stitch on something maroon, orange or purple. And I pulled out Juliet by Tilton Crafts, and here's what it will look like when it's finished. And here's what it looked like the last time you saw it. And here it is now. So I think I just managed to get a column done or finished off on that day. So that's that one. The 19th of April was Bulldog. Stitch on something with an animal. Bonus points if it's a bulldog. Now I don't have any bulldog charts, but I do have Victorian Charm by Dimensions, which has a little cat there, which I'm nowhere near up to the cat yet, but here's what it looked like the last time you saw it. And here it is now. I don't think I got much stitching that day, and I only really managed a little bit here, so there's not much progress there, but I did put in a little bit, and I really do want to get back to this chart because I still enjoy it. I still love it. I still want to see it stitched up. Yeah, I've just got so many others on. Okay, the 20th of April was Miss Congeniality. Stitch on something pretty, and that was Juliet, and I've already showed that to you. I can't remember what I stitched on the, when was the last time I pulled it out? On the 18th, and when I stitched on the 20th, but so it was probably more like 2 columns because I worked on it one twice, but anyway. Okay, the 21st of April was Taurus or Diamond. Stitch on something you find difficult related to the Taurus or Diamond. Now I pulled out Fantasy Triptych by Teresa Wensler because I do find this one difficult. I'll put in a picture of what it will look like when it's finished. And here's what it looked like the last time you saw it. And here it is now. So I just managed to do a little bit more of the trees here. I was watching Mummy Stitches, I think, this morning or last night, and she was saying that she is also doing this project, and she's also finding it hard to keep up on the chart, finding it hard to follow. So it's not an easy one, this one, and I'm not looking forward to getting into the back stitching because that looks really complicated. But what I've started to do is I'm working in columns now, so that's why I've got parked threads here, because I'm just doing columns. And yeah, hopefully I'll find it a bit easier to follow than doing it that way. That's that one. Still enjoy it though. So yeah. Now, after that was 22nd, close to 30, stitch on something that's close to finishing. I picked Some Enchanted Evening, but I actually didn't get to stitch on that day. On the 22nd, we actually left Sydney to go to Melbourne to visit my husband's family, and our flight was delayed. We were in the airport for hours. My daughter was running around, so it wasn't like I was going to be able to sit down and stitch at the airport. We get on the flight, it was completely packed, so I didn't have anywhere to move. My daughter was still awake. So yeah, I didn't really get to stitch that day. As soon as we got to Melbourne, we drove to my husband's younger brother's place and stayed with them until about 9:30, I think. We got back to the hotel after 10, so by then everyone was exhausted and I just went to bed, so I didn't get any stitching at all that day. But on the 23rd was a theme of 29, stitch on something related to 29. Now, Story Keeps Some Enchanted Evening has 29 letters in it, and here's what it will look like when it's finished. And here's what it looked like before I started. And this is what it looked like at the end of the 23rd. So again, I didn't get much stitching done because I was visiting family on that day as well. But yeah, progress is progress. On the 24th, we returned home to Sydney. Sorry, itchy nose. The flight was delayed yet again. Thank you, Jetstar. And so yeah, that cut into my stitching time as well. But when we arrived home, we wanted to unpack, catch up on laundry, that kind of stuff. So again, I didn't get much stitching, but I did get a little bit in. And here's what it looks like now. It's on my frame because I want to take it up again as soon as I can. So the bit up the top you've seen many times, but I'm basically working on this. This is the last page of the chart, and that's the width of it. So all I need to do is fill this in, and then it will be finished. It's my first finished. It will be my first finished Heaven and Earth Designs chart. So I'm really hoping to finish that in the next 3 days. Finish it by the end of April. So yeah, that's that one. So that was on the 24th, which is bookish, stitch on something related to a book or story. Now, because it's a story keep, I figured that would probably work. The 25th is Anzac Day here in Australia. We celebrate our army on that day and remember our war efforts and that kind of thing. But that was also Jessie's birthday. So we had a quiet day at home. It was a public holiday in Australia. Nothing opened until about 1 o'clock, I think. Everything's closed until 1 as a tradition here. So we just had a quiet day at home and I got lots of stitching done. But for that day, it was the most recent start, and I pulled out Travel Through Europe, which is the free DMC Portugal stitch along. And here's what it looked like the last time you saw it. And here it is now. So basically I worked on this block. Now some of this I have stitched this morning. I think the guy's hat I stitched this morning, his belt and the writing on the banner, that was all stitched this morning. But apart from that, it's part of the sale, and I really enjoyed it. So I only spent 1 day on it, but because we had lots of time to stitch that day. Sorry, there's a mozzie in here, trying not to get bitten. But yeah, I'm really enjoying that one. And I'm hoping to finish this block maybe today, we'll see. This one's being stitched on 14 count Ada. It is the Ada that I pulled out of Kingdom of Books, which was a kit I received from Russia, and I replaced the fabric. I didn't want it to go to waste, and I thought that would be a good one to do on that one. And then yesterday was the 26th, and it was to stitch on something related to family, and I chose to have and to hold, which is this one again, and I've showed it to you before, but here's what it looks like now. So yesterday I also had more stitching time, and I managed to do the rest of, so the previous day I think I finished most of this half, and then yesterday I finished off the skin. I did that actually 1/1. I stitched the skin 1/1 because, I don't know if you can see it better in here, probably not, but the eyes for the bride and the groom, the eyes are supposed to be French knots. I generally avoid French knots as much as I possibly can. So I figured if I did the skin 1/1, I could just do one stitch for the French knot instead of French knots for the eyes. So that's what I did. So it's not too bad, I suppose. This is on 28 count lambswool linen. I hate this fabric. I really hate it, but I'm persevering. So 1/1 skin wasn't too bad. It was, you know, it's not fun, but it wasn't too bad. But yeah, nothing complicated like a mirabilia, but yeah, there's where it is there. That was actually my aim this month, was to get that band finished, if you can call it a band. It's just, basically I wanted to get up to that there completed, and I have. So now all I have to do is that. I've already charted the date that's going to go in there, because obviously it's different to the one in the chart, so I've recharted the date. So all I have to do now is stitch For As Long As We Both Shall Live, the date, the leaves, the white bits here, 2 hearts, and I should hopefully be able to finish that in the next couple of months. So that'll be another finish. So that's that. Now, I'm just realised I forgot to go through questions that I had this month, so I'll do that now. Jagita from Magic Pond Crafts. Hi Jagita. She was watching my previous video, so not my last video but the one before that, where I mentioned that I had internet issues and it took me 17 hours to upload my last video, which is about, I think, 45 to 50 minutes long. She asked whether how my internet is during storms, and do I get very strong winds like tornadoes or hurricanes where I live. We don't get tornadoes or hurricanes. If you've been keeping up with the news, you probably saw that we had I think it was a hurricane or tornado. I think it was, no, I can't remember the name of it, but we recently had one in Queensland. I live in New South Wales, and we did get some effects of it. Nothing like what they suffered in Queensland or northern New South Wales, but we did get heavy rain, and that did affect my internet a little bit. But just backtracking a little bit from that, after that took 17 hours to upload, we were noticing quite a few issues with my internet, and I was backwards and forwards ringing my telecom company, and they tried to fix it on just by going into my computer. Like, I gave them access and they were trying to fix it remotely, and this went on for weeks and weeks and weeks. And finally I said to them, look, it's not working, just send a technician, because otherwise I just want to leave you guys and go somewhere else. And finally they sent out a technician. He was here for all of about 5-10 minutes and he fixed it. So it's not quite as bad as it was back then, and in fact my last video I think was about the same length, not quite the same length but almost, and that only took about 3 hours to upload, which I know is still a long time, but nothing like 17 hours where no one else can use the internet or anything like that. So by and large it's fixed. I did mention to Jagita that other parts of Australia are getting the National Broadband Network, which is going to be much, much, much faster. But they were sort of distributing that to areas where communication is hard as it is, so country areas were getting that first. They are starting to come into suburbia now, but it still hasn't come to this area, unfortunately. But as soon as it does, I'm jumping on it, and then I'll have really fast internet. So that's something to look forward to for me. And then for my most recent video, Marie from Stitching Is My Happy Place asked, what size fabric did you use for the Way to Happiness? I didn't bring my notes, but I used an 18 by 26 inch. It was 18 inches by 26. As far as length goes, that was probably okay, but width was way too much. I'm going to go and get my notes. I used 18 by 26 inch piece of fabric, and it came to 18 inches by 6.25 inch was the stitched area, and I'm pretty sure I put that on 28 count fabric. If it's not, I'll put down here what it did come to. So yeah, it was a massive piece of fabric for that piece, but probably the best standard cut that would fit that one. And then Patricia asked me, do you work with Q-snaps? Any problems with damage to the fabric or stitches? I do work with Q-snaps, and I have worked with Q-snaps for a long time. I've never had any damage, but I do use a bit of care with them. So I might show you, for example, Juliet. Sorry. So this has been in a Q-snap pretty much since I started it. I never take it out, but I know that I'm not going to stitch on this piece, so I can leave it in there because it doesn't matter if this bit of the fabric gets damaged. It's never going to be seen. I will be stitching on this bit, however, but even if this gets... The only problem that will probably occur with this is if the white part probably may get dirty, whereas because the rest of it has a grime guard on it, it wouldn't get dirty. So there might be a little bit of discoloration between the fabric that's here and the fabric that's under the Q-snaps. But because this is a full coverage piece, I'm not too concerned about that. Now, other pieces where they're not full coverage and they can't be washed, because they're not only being worked in DMC or because the fabric's hand coloured, I would turn the fabric so that you're actually putting the Q-snap on the back, so that you'd actually be working, excuse the back of my work, but you'd actually be working like this, where this is actually recessed. It's called working in the well, where you have this at the back and the fabric is actually looped forward like that. So where the fabric is hand coloured, that's how I use my Q-snaps. If I've already stitched on an area, so for example on this one, to have and to hold, I have been using my Q-snaps and I've been putting the Q-snap over this bit, but again I'm working on the Q-snap so that this is looped over and the snap goes on the back of the work. And then sometimes what I will also do, and I have done with this one, is put a piece of scrap fabric there. I've seen people use just kitchen wipes even between the snap and the fabric, so that it's not damaging that. I'd never use Q-snaps over beads. I would never put the snap part over a beaded section, because I don't think the beads would survive that. They might break. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question, Patricia, and if you have any more questions, please don't hesitate to ask. So thank you for all your questions and all your comments. Now I wanted to go into plans for May. Now Stitch Mania is a group on Facebook. They originally started, and that's Maynia is M-A-Y-N-I-A. Now they originally started in 2015 when two people who were, I guess, the founders of the group wanted to start a load of projects during the month of May. And that was in 2015, and they decided that for 2015 they'd have 15 new starts, so the 1st to the 15th were a new start every single day. I was going to participate and do that this year, but you may remember I was talking about it a couple of videos ago. I started making a list of what I was planning to start, and I could just feel my stress rising. I was going to have way too many whips on the go after that. So I decided that I would not do that. When I finish my story keep, which is Some Enchanted Evening, that one, I'm hoping to finish that by the end of this month. And since I've UFO'd the Boy King, I only have 15 whips left. That fits really nicely into a month, or into the first 15 days of May. So I'm still a little bit undecided. I was thinking I would either stitch on every single whip for one day in May, and then have new starts for the rest, but not a new start every day. Or I was going to work on every single whip for 2 days in May, and that would use up 30 days of May. Sorry about that, everyone. My iPad ran out of storage, so I'm now recording on my phone. But basically what I was saying is Stitch Mania was intended to be 15 new starts for the month of May. Now people kind of do whatever they feel like. Once I finish Some Enchanted Evening, which I'm hoping to finish by April, and now that I've UFO'd The Boy King by Janlin, I now have 15 whips. I will then have 15 whips on the go, which fits really nicely into that. So I may just work on one each per day and then have a few new starts from this, which I showed you earlier in the video. Or I may just start one new thing from this and work on each thing for 2 days in the month. Now amongst those 15, I'm not counting The Gingerbread Village by Country Cottage Needleworks, Santa's Village by Country Cottage Needleworks, and Singer Sampler by, I think it's Silver Creek Samplers that does that one, because they're in different parts, and I'm basing my number on what my X-Stitch app has on the go, and because they're different charts. So I'll start again. I'm not making this very clear, but Gingerbread Village, Santa's Village, and Singer Sampler all came out in a number of charts. So Santa's Village has 12 different charts, Gingerbread Village has 11 different charts, and Singer Sampler is 4 different charts. Now what I do on my X-Stitch app is every one of those individual charts is one whip. So because they're not actually being worked on at the moment, and because I haven't actually started one of those charts, I'm not counting those as whips. But because they are being worked on one big piece of fabric, they are actually 3 additional whips. So another option is to have the 15 days where I work on each of my projects for 1 day. Then I start one each of the charts from those projects, and I also start a couple out of this. So that's my May plan, still up in the air, but we'll see how it goes. But anyway, that's my end of April update. So obviously for the end of April, what I'm intending to do is keep working on Some Enchanted Evening until it's done. Hopefully it will be done by the 30th of April, and hopefully finish my London block for Travel Through Europe by DMC Portugal. If you haven't already joined my group for that sale and you're interested in seeing what other people are working on as far as that sale's concerned, I will link it below. It's open to all cross stitchers to join, so feel free. If you're one of the people who have tried to join in the last month or so and it's taken me a while to let you in, please excuse me. For some reason Facebook doesn't always tell me when there are new people wanting to join. I know that on Sunday I went to have a look whether there was anyone wanting to join, and it said no one. I also looked on Monday, and then on Tuesday I looked and there were 2 people wanting to join. One had requested to join I think 5 minutes prior, so that was okay, and the one before that had requested to join on Sunday, even though I hadn't seen them until Tuesday. So I'm really sorry about that, if it's taking me a while, but yeah, I will let you in as soon as I see you, and as long as you've got some sort of history with cross stitch, I will let you in. Anyway, if you have any questions, please comment below. I would love to answer any questions that you have. Thank you so much for subscribing, for watching, and for your thumbs up. And hopefully I'll see you mid-May. If you are participating in Stitch Mania, have a wonderful time, enjoy it. And maybe I'll work up the courage to do it in a few years, who knows. But I'll see everyone soon. Happy stitching. Bye.